and the ancestors are looking out for us. God Hayes is exposing them, man.
Okay, you see that chair right there? See how big it is?
Yeah.
Now look at the Pope chair under it. Scroll down, look at the Pope chair under
Never have it been made so clear.
Young TV. Young.
We running the game right now.
Young TV.
Time to take over.
Young.
We the hottest in the game. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. If you just not tuned in.
TV.
Share, like on your Instagram, Facebook.
Young TV.
If you tuned in, we broadcasting live from 2030, baby.
Young TV. Young.
Taking over the game, baby. Oh yeah.
Young TV.
Hit that like.
Young TV.
Get them likes up in the air, you heard me?
Young TV.
Ride by. Hotel Islam.
Young TV.
Assalamu alaikum. Flown lesson.
Young TV.
So, on the 552 Milwaukee, Grand Rapids, West Side, flip of 255 Josephine on the Noble line off Miss Pearl on the Sylvan Lake, flips of Silver Lake. That's on the monkey backflip. That being said, I'm be rolling me one while I'm letting y'all come in. I just got a new stash in. Last night I was in the zone. I started to go live, but it was too late. And I was just like, no, I can't do that. But I was in the zone. That Schumann resonance and that solar energy exchange is phenomenal. If y'all don't know what y'all's experiencing, go look it up. Look up the Peace, Chief, Peace. Look up the recent Schumann resonance and the recent solar flares over the last 2 weeks. And that stuff right there, that's literally Mother Nature and Father Nature working together in order to reset the codes on the genetics. It's going to be a whole new species. Malachi told y'all, when the shift change, some of the animals that y'all used to know, they're not going to exist no more. And some of the animals you ain't never heard of, they going to be here. Whether the scientists is doing it in the laboratories or whether Mother Nature is doing it through radioactive solar intervention. The close of this age, Pisces going into the age we're coming into now, Aquarius, all of the old ways have to be put out of usage. So they gave us these biblical narratives, which was predictive programming from childhood for a lot of us. Some of us, like me, it didn't work. I was too unruly. I was too rebellious. I was too much like a North American Indian to digest some Middle Eastern jargon. Some European developed war strategy that they gave us and told us it was the word of God. And they tell you right in that book, God is a man of war. So God being a man of war, and they gave us the war manual, but we don't know they gave it to us so they could program us to follow the narrative. As soon as we realize that, their narrative don't work on us no more. And when their narrative is no longer working on us, the strange thing called awakening takes place. This awakening is the sudden realization that, you know what, them son bitches lying to me. They telling me history, but they telling it to me upside down and backwards. Because I'm looking at how the tribe's been moving for the last 500 years. And if you know your people, like you know yourself, you'll be like, why was we moving like that? Look kind of funny. That's outside of the ordinary. Why are all of the tribes moving north to south and then west to east? What is these people doing? I thought we came on ships. They told us we came on some slave ships. But I remember building the pyramids in Mesoamerica. I remember the priests having ceremonies on sacred mounds that was put there because they are in strategic energy centers, and they had a powerful ancestor that they wanted to tap the energy of on that energy center, right? So why is they telling me, oh, I know they're trying to trick me. Now, what are they trying to trick me for? In order for somebody to try to trick you, they either trying to trick you for entertainment. In that case, you would go to Las Vegas and you'll watch David Copperfield, and you'll watch David Blaine and Chris Angel if you wanted to be entertained by trickery. One of the side effects of trickery, though, is the more trickery you see, the more you get to see trickery. The more you watch the magic shows, the less magical they become. You begin to see through the charade. So these people come over here with a bright ass idea of taking advantage of the best people on the planet that trained everybody on the planet how to even be on the planet, because we first on the planet. So they told us that we came out of Africa. Well, I don't have a problem with African people. I love them people. I like how the tribes is warrior tribes, hunter tribes, gatherer tribes. I love how they keep a lot of their ancestral oral information in the family, right? So I don't have no problem with Africans, but it's only one problem with the problem of us being African, and that's that all humans on Earth is made from the same carbon that comes from the corn. The reason why that's important, because everybody on Earth know the corn originated over here in Mesoamerica. In other words, the mound builders that built mounds, they also developed corn. Not only did they develop corn, these ancient ones that could take physical form, incarnate and disincarnate at will as whole-like beings to three-dimensional beings, they knew that the human that they was making, they needed the most stable form of carbon that they could find in order to facilitate the biocommunication between the melanin in the brain and the skin. And also they knew that the carbon of the corn was the perfect insulator in order to transmit that data from the crystals called DNA into the physical avatar that they would take form in. So they made man in her image and after her likeness. And they keep trying to trick us into believing that the man came before the woman. But if the man came before the woman, my question to them is, what womb did he develop in? Was he just laying on the ground and he just got up and started walking? I mean, what you mean the man came before the woman? And when I look all through nature, the birds lay eggs that comes out of a uterus. Reptiles do both. They give live birth and they give egg birth, but they still got to come out of a uterus. Fish lay eggs and is fertilized, but they still got to come out of the uterus. Elephants carry babies for 2-3 years, but it still got to develop in the uterus. The blue whale carry a baby pretty long time, but it still has to develop in the uterus. So they took this man that just developed with no uterus. That means he didn't come through the gate. If he didn't come through the gate, he don't belong here. But anyway, they tell us that they took one of his ribs and made a woman. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, every man that I ever heard existed had a mama. The most popular man in the world in history has to be Osiris or Ra or Set. They have to be the oldest known names we still continuously speak. And all them suckers had a mama. This ain't making no sense. Okay, so since you took the rib from the man and you made the woman, what womb did she develop in? And how did it become the rule to get into the realm called Earth? Everything got to come through a uterus except 2 people. That don't match. That does not match the facts of what we see in nature. Because that which you learn from nature, you learn naturally. But that which you learn from man can be a goddamn lie. Right? I see y'all, I'm glad y'all came to listen to me. But I'm still stuck on this problem. They want me to believe that God is a man that can make people poof alive with no process, but the rule that everything follows is involved in a process. There's an incubator, Stargate, called the uterus, but they want me to believe that they didn't use that for Adam and Eve. That's what they want me to believe. This not matching. You got to be a befuddling idiot to believe that. That narrative is explosive on its face. As they say in law, the prima facie case is tainted out the gate. The first reason that it's tainted because it was already people before Adam and Eve in the same book in the first chapter. So this has got to tell me that they got to be telling a damn lie. And what they look like they doing is they look like they doing some science shit to me. That's what it looked like to me. Like there are already people here, Genesis 1:26, in the male and female gender, which was only a handful of men because it wasn't that many. But somebody made man in their image and after their likeness. But it's already people here. Right? Adam and Eve was first. Okay. They already said they made somebody though. They made them in tribes or families or clans. Just say it right there in the book. So people be like, well, they think they be on to something. If Cain slew Abel and it was only Adam, Eve, Cain and Abel, who he married? He married one of them people from 126. The people from outside of this enclosure called the Garden of the Light, or called the Paradise or the Garden of Eden. This don't make no sense. If the church know what they talking about, unless they deliberately trying to mislead us. And the first thing that make me think that they trying to deliberately mislead us is they translate Hawa into the name Eve. And they don't tell us that Hawa means the lady who runs the tribe. It means the tribal mother, the tribal leader, Hawa. But they translated it as Eve as if it's the pretext to something evil. Are we thinking? Are we paying attention to what these people telling us, or are we just accepting a narrative and falling for the banana in the tailpipe? Because the banana in the tailpipe is wrong to me. Don't no banana go in no tailpipe. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, that don't make no sense. That they don't tell us this. And they don't tell us that Genesis chapter 1 said this was a reconstruction. Well, in order to be a reconstruction, you had to go through a destruction first, right? And I told y'all the last ice age, right, was caused by a nuclear holocaust. We leveled this whole mother. It is a part of the Vimana Sutras that tells you part of the story. And it tell you how we blew this sucker up, but what it don't tell you, and these writings are here at the Vatican, so eventually it'll come to light, that the people we call in the Anunnaki, or those who came from heaven to earth, landed on Mount Hermon, and they begin to colonize the planet in search of something we call gold. Well, gold to us was about the same as dirt. We didn't have value to it until they came. Once they came and they started killing us for it, we figured out that it must be something that they need in order for them to be this zealous in their pursuit of gold, and he never stopped. The search for gold is older than history. History, I'm going to take some calls in a minute, Josh. Just give me a minute. History tell us that history starts 6,000 years ago, right? When you all of the early historians, they were like, the earth 6,000 years old. It was created by God in Genesis chapter 1, 6,000 years ago. And these 6,000 years culminated up in us creating history over a 6,000 year period. But that was before carbon dating. That was before uranium dating. That was before they understood the principles of strata and of Earth. Now they tell us that the pyramids is about 10,500 years old, and the Sphinx is even older. So I'm sitting here, and I'm supposed to believe 6,000 years ago that some man just got up and then some guy snatched his rib out and the woman grew from it. That don't make no sense. Everything on this planet that's sentient, and even partial sentient, if it have instincts, comes through a uterus, a portal of life, a stargate, a dimensional transformer or transmitter of energy, a machine that takes you through lifetime after lifetime, where the monad jumped through all of us. It's the same energy, but it's fractal. It's broke up. And everything in the hologram is the sum total of all of the data of the hologram. Every part got all the information that's in the whole. That means that we all know this stuff already. So who going to remind us of what we already know? That you can't get in this earth and call yourself a human without a uterus. It's not going to happen. So anybody tell you that the man was first, they got to be lying to you. So what they covering up? I'm going to tell you what they covering up. They covering up what's called sacerdotal birthright. The sacerdotal birthright is the right of the women to reclaim Earth based on the gender of the planet itself. The oldest contract with Earth and the universe is the contract that established the gender of Earth. So the rogue patriarchs, that's the Rouge patriarchs, as in Moulin Rouge, as in River Rouge, as in the red bloody River Rouge, they dead wrong. So they give us this misinformation, but my ancestors said that because of Father Sky and Mother Earth, right, they put us here. Father Sky and Mother Earth. That sounds something like Shu and Tefnut to me in kinetic science. They say the great man walked across the sky with the black dog. What they talking about? That's the Orianos. Why is that even relevant? Because the Orianos is Orion, star constellation, and there is a connection between the bloodlines and the star systems. The bloodlines ties to the star systems by vibration and frequency and zodiac sign. So only certain people can be born on a certain part of the zodiac sign, and they know who we all are because they've been tracking us with the stars. But we don't know the movement of the stars, so we don't know when to expect one of us to be able to come and break the paradigm, right? So I go to this story called the crucifixion. But before I go to the story, I examine the word crucifixion. It comes from two Latin words, crux, which means at the core of something, at the root, at the center, and fiction. Fiction means false, made up, not real, untrue. It's a metaphor. It's something used to teach something that's not necessarily true in and of itself. It's a fiction. So the story also means made up. So they gave us a crucifixion story, which at the core of fiction is fiction. That's what they're telling us. At the core of the falsehood is the story, and it's the greatest story ever told. Or maybe it's the greatest lie ever sold. We sit here and watch these preachers, right? And they supposed to be teaching us what the Bible say is the path to righteousness, and they involved in all kind of debauchery. That don't mean that they can't teach you what's right. It means that what they teaching you has to be used in a different manner than they giving it to you in order for them to receive success from it, and you only get failure from it. That means that's not what they telling us it is. The preacher can go out and do all the dirt in the world, the priest, touching on little boys and girls in the church and the pool pits. Don't nobody want to say nothing, right? Because they on that secret squirrel shit, which means that it came from a secret society. If it came from a secret society, it means it's ritualistic magic. And if it's ritualistic magic, you can trace it back to its source once you know what rituals they're using. And when they tell you to take the sacrament, drink of the blood, eat of my flesh, that's an ancient Babylonian rite. When you kill the god of a people, you feed him to the people to corrupt the soul of the people. It's called a sin rite, written by a character in the pantheon called Ninnersin. Ninnersin also like to pass himself off as being Thoth or Tahuti, but he not. They cousins, but they two distinct different characters, two distinct different personalities, right? Since it's chiefing with the chief, let me get the chiefing. Okay, now, you have these people teaching us this stuff and coming to find out if they went to Bible school, right, and studied eschatology, they know it's all made up. They teach it in Bible school. They tell you where it came from, how they got it, who gave it to them, what it means, and then they don't never tell us, right? Now, the ones that tell us, they have to figure out a way to tell you that doesn't offend the system. I'm not a Christian, but if I was a Christian, the only one I would be listening to in this era is named Chuck Missler. Because he going to tell you, because a lot of stuff in that book was made up. And Chuck be like, yeah, this is a contrivance. It wasn't part of the original text. They added it around the 8th century, the 9th century, whenever they added it. Then, when you get done realizing how many things that they added that wasn't part of the original text, then you understand that's called padding the text. That means you rewriting the story in real time in order for people to accept the narrative, because however you gave them the narrative is no longer gelling with the current events of the time. So you have to alter the narrative in order to maintain your control. Maintain your control. Frantz Fanon wrote in one of his books, The Establishment may give you all of the rewards, but the same establishment that rewards you in order to maintain its control will also kill you. The establishment. Kind of remind me of the industry and DMX when he said, I'm a artist in the industry. I'm not an industry artist. It kind of makes sense, right? So how do we break this spell? You go back to the origins. That's not easy. But they be telling you, your elders who've been doing the research, they've been getting little pieces of the puzzle, but they couldn't tell you the absolute truth because they still had fragments they hadn't decoded yet. And this is why you have Chancellor William writing The Destruction of Black Civilization, but you got a whole different elder that's writing, they stole it, you must return it. Right? Then you got people that don't look like us, Albert Churchward and what's the other guy? Gerald Massey, that was figuring out how to translate hieroglyphics. These are the founders, what they call Egyptology, Egyptian studies. They was the ones that allegedly invented it, but they no longer accept it as accurate sources of Egyptian historical research. But the watered down version of Egyptology we get now, that don't even match. It's totally unsound. It's like if you know the story of drama that's from your neighborhood, but when you hear it somewhere else and it don't sound half as bad as it actually was, like Black Wall Street or Oklahoma City bombing, or the bombing of Philadelphia move. Why would you go bothering them people? Them people minding their own business, but minding your own business just so happen to be a threat to the system. Living and cultivating your own substance, your food, and living off the fat of the land is a threat to the system. The people that spoke out, your Dale Jones and your Mumia over in Jersey, right? They spoke up. Dale Jones not here no more. Mumia been locked up all this time because the police shot his dirty ass partner, or the dirty cop shot the good cop, and then they whopped Mumia upside the head first together, right? And then when he come to his senses, now you got all these police around him telling him he shot the police. And when you read it, it's obvious what happened, but don't nobody want to tell the story because it was witnesses there, but they don't want to tell the story. They scared of the police that much where they letting this man rot in prison rather than tell on them dirty ass police that don't even belong here. That's how they use the system, right, to keep you oppressed by intimidation tactics. The very stuff that they not supposed to do is exactly what they doing, but they tell you if you do the same thing, you're a criminal. And then they're going to put you in a cage. As Pac say, where they capture all your rage and violence. That way you can go as nutty as you want to, but they can control you. You micromanage now. You under the microscope. They watching your day-to-day activity. They watching how you move. They feeding you. They can poison you. Anytime you get a meal, they can be poisoning you, and ain't nothing you can do about it. They can gas you in your cell in the middle of the day, and you can't even get out in some of them places. In most of them. You're just going to be dead, gassed to death. You at the mercy of the state. The regular people out here don't understand what it's like being in prison, and they don't understand the war protocols involved in creating a military industrial complex and then turn around and create a prison industrial complex as if they was unrelated with the similar name. They don't never name nothing similar that's unrelated. Even if they don't admit that it's related, it's some kind of way one drives the other. It's part of the same industrial complex. The root to the word industrial is industry. Industry is big business, right? Which takes you to big corporations and break that down. So now it's all weaved back to Wall Street. Wall Street is where they first traded us. They was actually auctioning us back to our tribes, right? Because they thought we was broke. They didn't beat us damn near to death. Some of us, they done did some stuff so horrible, so then once they auction you back to your tribe, you ain't no more good. But the tribe wouldn't leave you hanging, so they was auctioning them off on Wall Street. But we don't know that the ones they was auctioning off was coming from Florida, right? They coming from Florida, where the Gullah War is being fought, and they coming from tribes from all across the land. But they got us believing that we came on some goddamn slave ship. The purpose of that narrative is a military-based ideology. And this is the purpose, so you'll know. And this is... The reparations argument has nothing on this argument, because once you realize that reparations is the carrot on the stick to lead you away from your heritable birthright as the caretakers of the land. Once you understand that, you will be like, hold up, I ain't falling for the banana in the tailpipe. You will turn around and be like, nah, we want our birthright, fuck your reparations. Now this is the problem. As long as you are unaware that you're standing on your own birthright territory, there's no way you will ever reclaim it. First of all, you won't have the ambition, the foresight, or the vision to see what you need to do. But as soon as you realize you didn't come on no slave ship, your ancestors been here since here was here because they built here. Not only did they build here, they put the people on all the other places wherever they at over there. So they built here and they built there. So they built both of them, and then they populated them according to the 12 daughters of Isis. The 12 daughters of Isis was the 12 different bloodlines on the matriarchal lineage of earth caretakers. The Great Mother I was the 13th bloodline, which was the Omega bloodline, which was the original bloodline. And this is why she was able to produce so much out of the spectrum, because it's all within the Great Mother. She sits on the sacerdotal seat. Earlier, I mentioned the sacerdotal seat, and this is the importance of it. It is the seat that has the right to tell all armies on this planet, go sit your bad ass down, Big Mama home now. She do not allow us to bicker and fight among each other. But remember, when the parents go away, the kids will play. And some of them play rougher than others. And then you got kids that don't even belong here, that ain't part of the family. Them the bullies they brought in from the schools they got exiled from because they couldn't make the cut. And then they learned all of the lessons and tore the school up. Well, now they trying to tear this school up, terraform the earth with chemtrails and digging up the soil in mass. It was never supposed to dig up major mines. The industrialization is overkill and burdening of the earth. They tell us that our carbon footprint is the problem. In case y'all don't know, carbon footprint mean melanated people, right? And the ones that got their one drop of blood also is considered melanated. So the carbon footprint they've been complaining about been us telling us as global warming was telling us that the solar cycle was returning and the moon cycle was ending. Under the moon cycle, the lesser melanated people was able to flourish because they was under the lesser light. But now, according to the solar flares and the Schumann resonance, the sun cycle's returning, the sun waking the earth up. Hey, Big Mama, wake up. Hey, Big Mama, wake up. We need you to clean the parasites off. And when that Schumann burst go and them motherfuckers talking about, oh, the headache, get the fuck away from them. They did some dirt you don't know about. Don't take up for them. You can't help them. They gonna have them migraine headache. I'm telling you, it sounds like a siren in my head. They are being cleansed from this. You gonna hear it. You gonna see people running their head into brick walls, diving in front of traffic, jumping off of bridges when Big Mama cleanses it. When that final Schumann burst go through, we call it Atlas Shrugged. And that was based on a post-apocalyptic utopia created after Atlas Shrugged. And the Atlas Shrugged is the Schumann resonance violently sending out a cleansing beacon of sound wave frequency. This comes up as Schumann resonance. You can look it up. The Schumann resonance was to conceal the fact that it's supposed to have been Shu Tefnut resonance, mother to father, but that they usurped it and gave men the responsibility, M-I-N, which is the male sex god, right? Hey, I love Ayn Rand. She was on the inside writing stories to tell us on the outside what was going on without ever telling us what's going on the inside. So she was excellent, from the title to her books, to her name, to the movements that she was making. She was something else. But my favorite is Madame Blavatsky, right? Yep. So you're going to be seeing more volcanic activity, because when she blow, she blow. When she blow, she blow. But everything that don't belong here won't be here. So on the aftermath, if you see somebody and you thought it wasn't going to be no pale faces here, they stand. Because some of us got this misconception that everybody that's going to be here going to look like dark skin like me. That's not going to happen. Who don't vibrate with the frequency of Earth and who can't raise their vibration to match the frequency, because the women gonna get it first. They gonna get it in small doses, because the ones who mitochondrial said it and they did their self-work, they gonna be at the top of the food chain. They gonna be the ones telling the earth how to clean up. We're gonna be telling us what the earth doing to clean itself. They gonna be shaking their rumps, causing earthquakes. And they gonna be whistling, and they gonna be singing their hymns, and then you're gonna see raindrops. You're gonna see all the most beautiful storms you ever seen in your life, but they gonna be so damn destructive. They're gonna be so damn destructive. They're gonna be the most beautiful storms you ever seen in your life, because they always like to do it with style, but they gonna be so destructive. Sky gonna take on different colors, right? But everything got to be cleansed. From, if it was done in the spiritual, which has already been done there, and now we about to see it manifest in the physical, and the work to make it manifest in the physical been being done. As long as we know what's going on, it won't make us panic. And as soon as we don't panic, there's no loosh. And somebody going to starve for the lack of the loose. So they going to already be exposed right before the blast. So you can be smiling and laughing at their rotten ass for what they about to get. Now, some of them going to still live through the blast because they belong here. But because they was corrupted, they file going to be brought out and show their corruption. And then they go into the gallows. So when they be reborn, because they can't go nowhere else, when they be reborn, they'll be reborn in the middle of the golden age, even if it's in 20 years. 20 years from now, we're going to be in a drastically different reality than we in now. Yep, 9 ether activation. Now remember, 9 ether is the composite of all gas forces, conscious gas forces. The gas forces was what we called fourth dimensional mind matrix, with the composed of your thoughts. But it becomes solidified, and then it becomes the etheric being, the being that could translate the ethers into the reality. Now, this is African root science, which is called the science of 9 ether, the ether utopian sciences of the ancient ones that was scattered throughout every piece of literature on the planet. Good, bad, and ugly. Because some of the literature, that stuff be so hard to read, like it's like watching paint dry. But then some of it be so dynamic that while you reading, you can't do nothing but put your heart in the story. Because it be that dynamic. You be all in it. Like some of Kahlil Gibran stuff, like The Bridesmaid or Ambitious Violet or John the Madman. It's like you right there with the struggle. Oh, my favorite Kahlil Gibran is called Satan. That one is a story about a priest who seen the angels striking Satan down to earth. And he said it was, I think it was Michael and Uriel was whooping Satan's ass. So the priest going past, he sees Satan in the ditch. Satan get done telling him how if it wasn't for him, there would be no need for a priest. And that if he didn't save him, the priest would lose his livelihood. So at the end of the story, the priest is taking Satan on his back to the church to nurse him back to health. And I was like, this is exactly what's going on. Right, so over here, everything was supposed to always be based on the sciences of nature. Where that if a child sit out long enough and watch nature and nobody don't tell him nothing, nature will educate him how it works. He'll see it all playing out. But as soon as you start to indoctrinate him, you usurp the ability to tap in to the natural frequencies of nature around you. Some children love nature so much that when you try to offer them that, Eric, that book, that Yahweh book, I literally was reading it in a dream and found it in my waking state years later. So, and I was telling Rich about it. That's what made us get it. But it got some, mine just came. And it got some powerful stuff in there too. But that's another story. Yeah. But we come in waves, teams. And it's like a game of tag. And this is the game of the gods. We have to figure out where the problem is, who caused the problem, where they come from, why they here, what they want. How we gonna get them to leave? They don't want to leave. Okay, so what do we need to do in order to take back what's rightfully ours from them because they stole everything? Then it's still here. They didn't remove it. They just played a trick on us and hypnotized us into believing that our shit not our shit. So therefore we shouldn't say something about other people fighting over our shit as if it was their shit. That's some audacity right there. They trick us into never saying nothing about our shit. And then they fight over each other about our shit that they told us wasn't ours. And we watching them, right? the Zionists fighting with the rest of the secret societies to keep what's rightfully ours away from us. The caucasity of it all. That's my mama said they got more nerve than a brass ass monkey. Right? I'm sitting there like, these motherfuckers. But we ain't supposed to have enough understanding of our culture that when every ghetto we go to, we operate the same until it's time for us to feed our family. Then we go to war mode. That's our culture. That's our nature. Now they can use it against us. They villainize and demonize all of our cultural practices and then turned around and monetized them because our genetic memory is going to react to it. They monetized them and told us they was holidays. As if we didn't already have celebratory rights for all of the people can know when is the summer solstice, when is the winter solstice, when is the spring equinox, when is the fall equinox, right? We already had those. Then we had historical celebrations of ancestors, and then they started putting their President's Day on top of it. Memorial Day on top of it, right? We had a Warrior Remembrance Day. They turned it into Veterans Day. We had a turkey feast, right? And the turkey feast was for the end of the fall harvest, what we call the final pumpkin harvest. The first pumpkin harvest ends around the All Hallows Eve. That pumpkin festival is where we used to sit around and tell stories around the fire, and then the kids would go out and play tag in the pumpkin patches at night because it was spooky. But they did it for fun. Then we had the final pumpkin harvest coincides with the Great Turkey Hunt that we used to have. The Great Turkey Hunt is where the turkey get associated with Thanksgiving. If you read the Pilgrims Came to the Festival, it tell you right in there that we was already celebrating that festival. It was a harvest festival. And then they turned it into a holiday called Thanksgiving, and it just spread around the world. But we don't know it started over here off of our culture. Everything starts over here because this is where the root. This is where the seed of the root of the Great Mother come from. From the firstborn or the earthborn parthogenic son of the Great Mother to the Great Mother herself, the Omega Mother. And this is why you always got to know who the Big Mama is in order to enforce the blood right. The blood right is enforced through the oral tradition, not the written tradition, right? But once the oral tradition has been accepted by the elders, they begin to dismantle the written system, the system that's founded on paperwork. That's called a contract system. And remember, the only time that the devil have any control over your life is when you make a contract with the devil. Let it sink in. He can't come in unless you invite him in. So he gonna stand around your house and try to create every condition to drive you to come to him for mercy. But some of us is too stubborn and too hard-headed to ever ask that motherfucker for mercy. We just want him gone. And then they end up trying to force their system upon us. And by trying to force their systems upon us, they have us trapped in this psychological conundrum because the system because of the system of uniforms makes it look legitimate. But you know, if you know your people, that, wait a minute, they're not legitimate. Because we didn't need police. We didn't need no politicians. The local people took care of the